A lot can happen in a week. Some of it good, some of it bad, some of it downright ugly. When faced with intriguing developments in the week's news, we turn to a rotating panel of non-experts to parse the good, the bad, and the ugly of it all. On today's panel, Mary Flood, consultant with Androvett Legal Media and Marketing, Marco Roberts, chairman of the Texas Conservative Liberty Forum, and Ernie Manouse, co-host of Houston Public Media's Hello Houston program, weekday mornings at 11 on News 88.7 and the Tube of U's. Mary, Marco, Ernie, welcome to Houston Matters. Good morning.
Good morning.
The Tube of U's?
The Tube of U's. Panel, the ACLU filed a lawsuit in federal district court Thursday on behalf of D.C. resident Sam O'Hara against a member of the Ohio National Guard, 4 D.C. police officers, and the district itself. According to the lawsuit, as a widely seen video O'Hara shared last month also shows, officers detained him on a public street in northwest Washington because he was walking behind National Guard members deployed by President Trump while playing on his phone the Imperial March from The Empire Strikes Back. Bum, 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 bum. You know that one. According to the suit, when he wouldn't stop, the Guard member called D.C. police, who promptly handcuffed O'Hara and briefly detained him. O'Hara, who was never charged with a crime, says he was protesting what he characterized as an unnecessary occupation in the district and that his First Amendment right to do so was being infringed on. The ACLU sues over a D.C. man's detention for playing Darth Vader's theme on his phone on a city street. Is this good, bad, or ugly? Mary Flood, start us off.
It is good, Craig, and it's important. And man, I applaud the ACLU and Mr. O'Hara. I am deeply troubled by what's happening legally and illegally in this country, the overreach from the executive office and the capitulation from the legal branch, and this cavalier disregard for the law, whether it be about naturalized citizens or shooting at boats or Fourth Amendment rights, it's driving me nuts. It's really scary. There's a legal principle, and as a lawyer, I should know how to say it in Latin, but I'm not one of those. And basically is ignorance of the law is no excuse. And ignorance of the law is especially no excuse when you're working for the government. And these guys didn't know the First Amendment and didn't know the Fourth Amendment. You know, a lot of us get confused about what the First Amendment is. And I've had friends call and say, my boss won't let me say this. Well, yeah, it's private property. They're not the government. It doesn't matter. But here it did. And they're at Logan Circle. This is the place you go for like avocado toast. This is not a scary part of D.C. and I just love the ACLU, and I have for decades. And a lot of people think it's a liberal organization, not just because I have joined it, but because
Exhibit A.
They represent guys like this, but they also represented Ann Coulter and the NRA and the gay-hating Westboro Baptist Church. And in about 50 years ago, they represented Nazis who wanted to march in Skokie, which was over 50% Jewish, and the ACLU attorney who represented the Nazis was Jewish. They're like, they don't care about liberal or conservative. They care about the Constitution and the First Amendment and the right to free speech and the right to press and the right to assembly. I agree with Mr. O'Hara that this is a dangerous occupation and that the soldiers patrolling Logan or Portland, these are places to get your cortata and your espresso martini. And it's really frightening to me that the politicization of our legislature, of the executive branch, of the military, and it's frightening the capitulation as well, including by our governor. I haven't had a congressperson since March when Sylvester Turner died, and it's because it helps his party. So I've got taxation without representation because it helps Greg Abbott's party. This party over people, party over the rule of law is driving me crazy. But I love O'Hara, and I think this was really clever.
I've been looking at the text of the First Amendment. I can't find any references in there to either avocado toast or espresso. Just so you know.
I think it's in the footnotes, dear.
I'll have to look that up. All right, good, bad, or ugly, Marco Roberts.
I think it's a little ugly. I think it's all performative. First of all, I just have very little respect for a grown man who's going around following people with blasting music. I mean, he talks about protesting. The First Amendment, certain areas are very clear cut. But then you start getting to this little gray area where it starts crossing into harassment. Can you actually harass someone? Can you follow, let's say, somebody from the Houston Chronicle, reporter, and start harassing them with music and following them around? You couldn't do that. You would not be allowed to do that. And in fact, there's a case which you might be familiar with from the United States versus Cassidy, where it talks about the fact that you can't cross that line into actually following people, right? You can't do that. And one of the things I noticed about the lawsuit that was filed is, I mean, my reaction was when I first saw this, I did laugh. It was funny. You hear the music and it's funny, right? But I can see how it could be irritating. And one of the things I noticed in the lawsuit was it wasn't just that he was standing there playing the music, is that as these officers started to walk away from him, he kept following them, to wherever they were going. And that's when they said, stop it, stop following us. And then he persisted. And then that's when he was detained. He wasn't arrested. He was detained. So I don't know where the court might, but I'm just going to say this is a gray area where did he cross that line into harassment? I think there's a case to be made for that. I also think the whole thing is performative. I think all our politics today are more performative than they've ever been, which is a little bit disappointing because there's a lot of serious issues, and I'm just not thinking that this guy is just looking for clickbait. He's going to get a lot of TikTok videos and all this stuff. Is he really accomplishing anything? I don't think so. I don't think a single mind was changed by what he was doing. The people that like what he's doing are all for it. The people that don't like what he's doing are offended by it. That's all there's to it. So there's serious issues to think about. I would even say, sure, protests, like No Kings protests. Those were pretty peaceful protests, and they had signs, but they weren't following anyone. They were just, here we are, and this is what we think, and that's what they should be doing. So I would just simply say that normally protest, if they're doing something, do that. But I would say crossing the line is when you start following people who are walking away from you.
Does it matter which John Williams score?
Well, if I liked it, then maybe I'd be okay.
Yeah, because if it was the Indiana Jones theme
Yeah.
or Superman or something like that, maybe you'd feel.
Well,
a little
if
differently.
it was a happy tune, sure.
All right.
Maybe, but.
All right, well, let's check in now with George Lucas's inspiration for Darth Vader, Ernie Manouse. Good, bad, or ugly? No, that's a different movie.
That was Darth Vader.
I don't know
Very
about that.
bad
I
Darth
went
Vader.
where you went to.
Yeah. Right.
I'm not sure when Marco was referring to him, who he was referring to. If he was referring to the president about all this being performative and all of that, then I
No,
agree
I
with
was
him.
not.
If he was referring to the protester, then I don't agree with him. I think it is good for the protester, ugly for our whole country where we're at right now with all of this. In a public space, if troops have assembled, if they are there, and even if they are walking away, as long as it's still in a public space, following them home, I'm with you on that, Marco. Following them into a building, into private property, yeah, you don't do that. In a public space, they're there. They have followed people too. So I think that we're at a place where we are. And it sounds dumb to even say it because we all know it now. It's gotten to a very dangerous place when it comes to how we interpret people who have the right to assemble and to protest and to have their voices heard. And what I think is good about this is the way they're finding fresh new ways, they being the folks that are protesting these occupations and this military action in the government, is they're trying to find clever, humorous but thoughtful ways of protesting. Playing that music is funny. It's clever, but it makes a point too. It's different than, smashing through buildings, breaking things, starting riots that then people are injured and harmed. So we've got to, collectively as a nation, we've all got to take a breath, is what I think. And we've got to bring down all of the tension. And kudos to him for doing something clever and interesting without inciting violence or anything like that. He should not have been detained. There you go. Did I answer?
Well, I'm just going to add a couple of things on that.
Okay, add.
I think the court case does say that it's curious, but it actually says streets themselves are not public spaces, plazas and other areas because they're traffic areas. So you can't necessarily do that. The other thing I would say is that I do think it's performative. I do think that he is clearly trying to get people to follow his podcast and his whatever it is he's doing. And I don't know, the King's Day protests are a perfect example of what protests should look like. And there's millions of people, or thousands, I don't know, there's a lot of people protesting all over the country, right?
About 7
and
million.
that was great. But now we have this one guy who's got all this attention, and so we're all focused on that. And I think that also is performative.
But there's one thing that we need to look at, and that is that it is not very American, not very normal to have uniform military on our streets like this. The only other place I've been where you see uniformed military on the streets and in museums was when I was in Israel right after they declared war on Lebanon. Otherwise, this isn't our country, and this isn't Logan Circle, and this isn't Portland. And I really love that the guy came up with a clever way to continue to protest and continue to put it on TikTok, not just for himself, but for the country. We shouldn't have the military going after citizens like this. We don't need the military in Logan Circle or in Portland, Oregon. And this is a misuse of them. And it's crossing the line. Yes, it's crossing legal lines for us to be doing this. And I think the fact that he's bringing some attention to this is wildly important.
Do we know how loud he was playing the music? Sound ordinances may have been broken.
It says in the lawsuit that you could hear it, but it wasn't excessively loud. It repeats it over and over in the lawsuit.
Then I go back to being okay.
It's the speaker of his cell phone, so there's going to be a limit to volume there.
Tiny.
But
irritating, maybe.
Yeah, could be irritating.
Panel, Houston's first ever Fleet Week, originally planned for next month, has been postponed. Houston Mayor John Whitmire announced the move on Thursday, citing the ongoing federal government shutdown. As Houston Public Media's Kyle McClanagan reports, the city still plans to celebrate the Navy, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard next year. No specific date has been selected. The plan had been to bring ships and aircraft to Houston to coincide with the Navy and Marine Corps' 250th birthdays. The latest impact of the shutdown, no Houston Fleet Week this year. Is this good, bad, or ugly? Marco?
Well, we've never had one before, so it's disappointing for sure. I mean, I'm not going to say it's good. It would have been nice to have had this here happen. I'm just going to say that I didn't even know that there was going to be a Fleet Week, so it's kind of like I'm not missing it necessarily. It's very difficult. If this was something that had happened and we'd been having this for years, maybe I'd be more concerned about it. But it was a brand new thing. It'll come back next year for our 250th anniversary at that point. So, I mean, I'm not going to say it's good, but I'm not seeing a real problem with it at this point. I think we're all disappointed with the shutdown, and I know a lot of folks have, I'm sure Mary and Ernie have different views on this, but the shutdown can be, ended by the Democrats anytime they want. So, if that's what's going to be the consequences.
Simple rules change, but who's
or the
talking?
people who are in control. Yeah.
But no. So I would say it's a minor concern. It's a minor disappointment for all of us. But I do wonder how many of us. You know what? I imagine that more of us have learned about Fleet Week than we would have otherwise, and now we will know for next year.
That's a interesting silver lining. Good, bad, or ugly? Ernie Manouse.
The choices, again, I have trouble with. I would go with good, because if you're going to do something, do it right. If there's problems and you can't get it done, as Marco was saying, it's not like a long-standing tradition and people are suddenly disappointed that they're not going to go to their annual Fleet Week. But the fact that, okay, it's not coming together. I also think probably I don't fully invest in the reasons we're saying is why it was canceled. I think it was getting close and things weren't in order enough. That personally how I feel. But, wait, get it right. When we were launching Hello Houston, we kept moving our launch date till we got the cameras working and the studio done and all that. So you wait sometimes so that when you finally launch, you get it right. Maybe we still didn't get it right on Hello Houston, but we launched. And same thing with Fleet Week. Wait. Okay, next year we'll be in a better position, and maybe they can actually have water here in Houston that they can bring the ships to for Fleet Week.
All right, good, bad, or ugly, Mary?
One, you got it right with Hello Houston.
Thank you.
And I think it's bad because, the shutdown's obviously causing many more things, but in the 80s, I got a chance to be on the aircraft carrier USS Theodore Roosevelt in the Mediterranean. I was the only woman on a ship of thousands of people, and I got to see how the Marines and the Navy guys on there lived and worked, and I have infinite respect for these guys, and also for how cool it is to be catapulted off of an aircraft carrier. 3Gs, that was like super fun.
Is that how they got rid of you?
It was, yeah, exactly. It wasn't just me alone. I was in an airplane. Just so you'll know.
That's better.
A couple hours on an aircraft carrier with Mary, and that was enough.
Just shot her right off.
It was so good. Anyway, but obviously the shutdown, there are people in food service lines and people out of work and people working without pay and people worrying about how they're going to pay their rent, and some of the working people are being obviously ignored by both parties to some degree, but I think the party in control may have a little more control. So anyway, I love the idea of Fleet Week. I love the idea of honoring the soldiers and the Marines, and so I hope we get it together next year.
Panel, congratulations are in order for Norbert, a pig in Buffalo Grove, Illinois, who now owns the Guinness World Record for the fastest 10 meters pushing a skateboard by a pig. Norbert pulled off the feat in 11.32 seconds. Owner Vincent Barron says after just a handful of sessions, Norbert looked like a natural on the board, so much so, in fact, that similarities to skateboarding champion Tony Hawk led Norbert to earn the nickname Tony Pork. May I say this is a missed opportunity? Tony Hog? Isn't that closer to Tony Hawk?
Oh, it is.
What are they doing?
They aren't the punsters you are.
I'm just saying. A pig rides a skateboard 10 meters in just over 11 seconds. It's true, even if the story doesn't sound kosher. But all right, enough with the puns. Is it good, bad, or ugly, Ernie?
Craig's puns ugly. Story.
I agree with you.
Yeah. See, we find unity on this show. My bigger question is, what do they do at the Guinness Book of World Records? Where do they come up with these ridiculous categories?
I think the brand name may be a clue.
The Guinness part. Great for the pig. I'm happy for him. I can't ride a skateboard, period. So that pig's got one up on me. I just think it's kind of, you look at the different categories and it's like, I don't know if I just don't remember this from when I was a child, but I thought they were like kind of more normal categories where it's like bouncing a basketball for a certain amount of time. Oh, you got the a pig riding. Are there a whole bunch of pigs competing on this across the country and this one won it?
Could be.
I don't
There
think
could
so,
be.
though.
This could start a cascade. Good, bad, or ugly, Mary?
It's good. It's clearly very important work. The Guinness people, I love a diversion these days, and the Guinness people obviously are giving it to us, and also the chance for puns, and you've passed on so many, and I thank you, Craig.
You're welcome.
But I was kind of surprised. I mean, I especially acknowledge the balance of this guy, but he was 175 pounds and not really a cute little piggy. I mean, that snout was, anyway. But,
you object due to his visuals.
Yeah, it wasn't quite what I expected from Tony Pork.
All right. Good, bad, or ugly, Marco?
It's one of those things where I just have to struggle to care and I have to do what I can to want it. But I'm with you, Ernie. I used to love, I would buy every year's edition of the Guinness World Records. Because those were like actual categories, right? The longest bridge, the tallest building, the biggest. I mean, these were like things that were real,
right?
And then nowadays they have these categories. One of them was, I saw the longest banana car.
Point taken. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but I hear you, and I think you're on to something there. Mary, Marco, Ernie, thank you both. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Craig.
Thanks, Craig.
All right.